something that I rarely have to do, which is going to be working on the FJ. This thing is so reliable, it's a great truck, I never have any issues with it. Today though, I'm going to go ahead and replace the front brakes. I've been getting a little bit of a brake pulsation out of it lately. Might have been from one time when I was towing, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and put some new rotors and pads on it, get rid of that vibration, and let's get it done. So we're going to be using the Power Stop brand of brakes. We got the drilled and slotted rotors, and then we have the one with the carbon fiber ceramic performance pads. Comes with the pads, the clips, the hardware, lubrication, everything you're going to need. So first of all, we're going to get the wheels off this thing, and then we'll get to it. Okay, so these brakes have been on here a couple of years. There's still about half, I'd say 50% of the pad left on here though. But the rotors are getting warped, so I do want to get these replaced. It's very annoying when you're trying to stop fast and the thing's just pulsing on you. So we're going to go ahead and take these apart and put some new ones on there, and then we'll be good to go. These bolts on here are 17 millimeter. So we're just going to take these two big caliper mounting bolts off. Alright, it might take a minute, they're a little bit tight. Okay, once we have those off, we want to try and just pry these pads a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to put this jack stand underneath the caliper because it's only hanging by this brake line. I don't want to risk kinking the line or anything like that. So next thing is I got to get this rotor off. It should just come off. I may have to soak this ring a little bit and just give it a couple of good whacks to break it loose. Alright, just give it a couple of hits and she's coming right off. That's all set. Okay, these rotors are marked left and right, so we get the driver's side one here. I'm just going to give a quick spray on here. Sometimes they put a coating on here to protect them from rusting, so just want to make sure get that coating off. Now I think these pads may come out from the outside, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take these clips off. Okay, clip goes like that. And then we have these pins that will need to come out. Okay, we got a little cotter pin that goes on the inside. Alright, sprayed a little lubricant on there. See if we can knock these pins out. Alright, there's one. Okay, here's the other one. Alright, yeah, so the pads just come right out. And these pads still had plenty of life in them. That's alright. We'll put some new ones on there. Alright, so we're going to swing this back around here. Get this line back up. So we got the caliper bolts back on. Make sure those are good and snug. Okay. Next thing we got to do is push the pistons back in. Okay, we're just going to take a pry bar and we're just going to push it back in. Okay, one of the pistons was sticking a little bit. I was able to free it up, so that's okay. We do have all new hardware, new pins and clips and stuff, so that's good. So let's get the pads and get them installed. Okay, so one of the pads has the wear sensor on it that's going to squeak once it makes contact. It's already got the shims on the back, which is nice. Okay, we're going to put just a little bit of this brake grease on here, just to keep things quiet. Get some out of here. Okay, I'll grab some of the new pins. Put a little bit of grease on these too. So they slide a little bit easier. Okay, and then we have new cotter pins also. And a new retaining clip. Goes like that. Alright, these clips can be a little tricky, just so you see how they go. They hook into the holes on the pad. They go around the front. This little notch sits on top here, goes around behind the pin, comes back around the front, and like that. Okay, it took me a minute to figure that one out, but that's how they go. Alright, so I discovered what the problem was, why it was causing a pulsation. If you look at this brake pad, you see it's maybe half worn, and if you look at this one, it's pretty much wiped out. So what happened was the caliper was sticking, causing this pad to wear prematurely and overheat the rotor and cause it to warp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 new calipers on the front of this thing, just because I don't want to have any issues with it. So let me get those replaced and get this thing all squared away. Alright, so here's our new caliper. I got these from O'Reilly's. I think they were like 70 bucks a piece, which isn't bad for a 4-piston caliper. We've already had the old one off. The only difference was we just had to disconnect the brake line. So you just unscrew that, screw the line back in, put the new one on there. Just got to bolt this up, put the pads back in there, and we just got to make sure we bleed it out after, because obviously this caliper is dry right now. Okay, so let me get the pads back in, and then we can get it bled out. Okay, so we got the new caliper on here, we got the pins, we got the clips. You can see the pads are loose still because there's no pressure being applied from the pistons yet. We got to bleed it out to get that to happen. The line's on there secure. I'm going to pop off this little bleeder cover here, and I'm going to just crack this bleeder loose, make sure it's... Oops, I'm going to get my other wrench. But the wheel turns. When I put the other one on with the pads, it just froze up. It wouldn't even turn. So, alright, so we got this one on. I'm going to replace the other one. This way I got 2 new ones in the front. I don't have to worry about them. And then we'll get it bled out. Okay, so to bleed the brakes, there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. The method I'm going to use is, I went to Harbor Freight and got this Pittsburgh brake bleeder vacuum pump kit. Basically, you just hook it to the bleeder, and you pump up a bunch of pressure, and then you crack the bleeder open, and you can see all the air bubbles coming out, and it's going to capture the fluid down in here. See all the air bubbles? And you're just going to do that until you don't see any air coming out anymore, and then you should be all set. Alright, so after I use the bleeder tool, sometimes it can be a little bit of air left in the lines, you don't know. So what I do is I usually just crack the bleeder open, and I let it gravity bleed at this point. So basically everything's full of fluid now. Any little air bubbles that are caught up in here will just purge themselves out. Once that's all set, we'll check the pedal, make sure she's feeling good, and if she is, then I think we're all set. Alright guys, so we're going to call this one a wrap. I got the brakes all back together, got everything bled out. I just took it for a test drive, and
runs beautiful, nice and smooth. When you put the brakes on and you first take it out for a ride, obviously you want to pump the pedal a couple of times before you back up, just to make sure that the pressure's up. And then once you start driving it, you got to kind of seat the brakes. So usually they'll tell you do maybe 5 or 10 really hard stops with it, just to burn the pads in. But then after that, you're good to go. Like I say, she's nice and smooth again. It's kind of aggravating when you get that pulsation, and especially when you're on the highway trying to slow down real quick. But it's all good. So if you guys like the video, give a thumbs up, give a like, give a share, and we'll catch you on the next one.